Hi guys, welcome back to another motivational chit chat with Nia. I'm Sav and I'm a second year student at the University of West Indies, UWI, and I'm majoring in management studies, and today's episode we're going to be talking about time management. Now, when Nia asked me to talk about time management, I was a little skeptical at first because I was like, what do I really know about time management, especially since I kind of struggle with it still. So how am I going to share it with you guys? However, over the years, I have developed some tips that I found work for me in terms of time management. So I guess I'll just share those tips with you guys. And it's not Bible, it's not set in stone, it's not the word. So if it doesn't work for you, don't worry. There are tons of other tips out there. You can just do your research on the internet. As well as if I missed something or if you have tips that you want to share with other people, you can just leave them in the comment box down below. But before I get started, I just want to say that these tips are developed because I know myself and the type of schedule I have. So I can't really speak for somebody who has a more hectic schedule, such as a med student, because compared to their lecture and tutorial and labs, their classes and their schedule, mine is a lot less hectic. It doesn't necessarily mean that the workload isn't a lot, because we still have quite a bit of work to do. However, compared to a med student who has class from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., maybe earlier, maybe later, my schedule is a lot less hectic. So the first tip that I have for you guys, and if you see me looking down, it's because I wrote it down. The first tip that I have for you guys is knowing the type of learner that you are. And this really helps. Now, I found out from an early age that I am a visual learner, which means that I have to read to understand. I have to see it to understand it. So for stuff like, I'm going to use marketing because I'm taking a marketing course this semester. My class or my lecture, most of the times all she does is talk. And for stuff like marketing, I find it a bit easier because I'm a more business-oriented type student, and so I'm doing management studies. I kind of get bored whenever I hear her talking, and it's not necessarily what she's saying or how she's saying it. It's just because I know I'm a visual learner, and if I read, I'll understand. But if I hear it, I'm going to get lost at some point in time because it just sounds boring to me. So instead of sitting down in the 3-hour lecture, what I do is I don't go to that lecture. And I'm not saying don't go to your lecture classes, but I know which classes I have to go and which classes I don't necessarily have to go. And marketing is one of those classes I don't necessarily have to go to, so I don't. What I do is I read the textbook. I have the textbook on my computer. I read the textbook and I'm fine. And a lot of this I already learned in CSEC, POV, and CAPE MOB. So it wasn't anything hard for me. So what I do with that time is I do something else in that time. Meaning, let's say I'm doing quantitative methods, which is a more mathematical class, and math isn't necessarily my strong suit. What I'll do is I'll take that time and I'll try to work on something that I might not be understanding, which happens a lot because, again, I don't really like quantitative methods. And quantitative methods is statistics part 2 basically, and statistics was already hard, so yeah. But I just work on that and I try to understand. So what I'm trying to do is use my time wisely, which I suggest doing. It doesn't make sense I sit down there for 3 hours listening, because I'm not really listening, when I could just be doing something else and working on an area that I'm weaker on. So I definitely suggest finding out the type of learner you are. Once you find that out, try to work around that. So for, let's say, a mathematical subject, I can't necessarily do that because I actually have to see. So I will sit in the class and I will actually make my notes. I have to write down my notes because I'm a visual learner. I learn through practicing, I learn through seeing. I make my notes and I go about the rest of my day. So the next thing, I cannot stress this enough, planning. And I'm not saying plan your day to the T, because you never know what might happen, what event might, I guess, mess up your time. So I don't suggest saying, okay, at 5 o'clock I'm going to study this. No, what I usually do is I say, all right, I'm going to try and study, let's say, 10 pages right now. And yeah, what I do is I say, let me try and study 10 pages within a specific time. I don't want to say at 5 o'clock because I don't know, something might happen at 5 o'clock, and once it kind of messes up how you do things, and you're just going to feel really frustrated that nothing is falling into a time period. So what I suggest doing, just trying to say before, is setting more realistic goals for yourself when you're planning. So I don't ever suggest leaving things until last minute. Plan out your time. Don't wait until night to study and be like, okay, I'm going to try and study 30 pages in the night. Now able to work out the question with the information that you've read. So be really realistic when you're planning, as well as don't overwork yourself when you're planning, because that's just going to lead to a very stressful situation, and that can honestly like mess with your mental health, which I'll touch on a little later. But try to be very realistic when you're planning. Plan out your time wisely. You know, I like to plan, like, let's say I have exams, I like to plan starting off with the exam as I have first, then second, then third, and that's how I kind of plan out how I'm going to study things. But don't wait until exam time to study. No, it's way less stressful when you start like kind of revising as you go along, or try understanding when you're going along in the lecture. It saves you a lot less stress when you're studying later. So yeah. So the next thing that I'm gonna say is setting class times based on, I guess, your schedule. Like, if you want to balance both social life and school life, if you have the option, because as I said, I don't know if med it's set in stone or that they give you the class times, but for me, I get to choose the class time that I want once they have a lecture within that time. So what I try to do is I set all my classes really early so that I have the rest of the day free. And I like doing that because if I set it like, let's say midday, and let's say I have 2 lectures that day, and I set from 12 to 2 and then 2 to 4 or 2 to 6, I don't know, it depends on how long the lecture lasts. It's really hard to like hang out with your friends, although it's COVID time, but you get what I'm saying, or to do other stuff, I don't know, whatever you want to do. It's kind of hard to try and do it either in the morning or do it in the evening. You kind of have to fit whatever else you want to do within those time slots, because your afternoon, evening is kind of already taken up. So personally, I like to have all my classes in the morning because it just makes it a lot more easier, especially if my friends want to go out somewhere. Most of the times it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and most of the times I'm free that time because most of my classes have the option to do it in the morning. So I just do it in the morning, get it over with, and have the rest of my day free. So if you can, I definitely suggest doing that. Also, I don't like night classes because night classes, I just feel like they just take forever. And for some reason, I realize that when you have lectures at night, lecturers take advantage of that because it's, let's say, their last class of the night, so they go over the limit. Whereas if you do it, let's say 10 o'clock, chances are at 12 o'clock, let's say class was 10 to 12, chances are at 12 o'clock they have another class, so they don't really have the option of doing that. So do your classes early if you can. My next point is doing all your practice questions, going to all your tutorials and doing the homework, doing all the examples. Do it when you're learning that topic, because guys, when it's exam time, it saves you a lot less stress because you don't have to spend time trying to understand because you've done the examples, so you understand now. Well, I'd hope you understand now. If you don't understand, talk to your tutor, talk to your lecturer, talk to a friend, talk to somebody that can help you. but when it's exam time, you spend a lot less time trying to figure out how something works, and you can use that time to study for something else, or I guess to relax. It really just depend on what you choose to do with your time. And the last thing, very very important, setting time in order to deal with your mental health, because you need to take care of your mental health. It can't just be school all the time, because that honestly takes a toll on your mental health. And it's once your mental health starts to deteriorate, it just makes school 10 times harder. So always take time away to work on your mental health. Don't be afraid to go to a therapist or anything if you need help. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. If it is that you want to talk to somebody, just make sure that that person is for you. I'm not saying like their life revolves around you, but they want the best for you. They have your best interest at heart when you talk to them. Just take time away. So I used to get really flustered sometimes if somebody, let's say on Snapchat, posts a picture of them doing work, and even though I've done my work already, I just feel inclined to also have to do work because they're working, because I'm like, wow, they're working so hard and look at me trying to relax. No, don't think about it like that. You know you've done your work. Take a break. Go socialize, be with yourself if you need to. Don't let what other people do mess up how you think about yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself, and you have to live with your own, you have to live with your own thoughts. I hope I'm making sense. Yes, hopefully you understand. You have to live with what you do, and what I'm really trying to say is, not because someone is doing work means that you have to do work at the same time. If you've done your work, don't worry about it. Focus on you. Focus on giving yourself time off. Focus on relaxing, as well as focus on trying your best in school. So those are all the tips I have for you guys. I hope you guys can take some of these tips if you are struggling with time management, and I guess apply them to your life. And if you want to talk to me about more tips, my app will be in the description, and I'll be happy to help. And if you guys also want to share more tips with me, you can also send me a DM. I'll be happy to help. Or again, you can leave it in the comment box down below. And I hope you guys have a successful semester, a successful rest of the year. And I hope you guys also stay safe in quarantine, and just stay safe during this COVID season. Bye guys.